When I was first asked to conceive an idea for a major design project, I knew three things: that I wanted to do a film as my main piece, I wanted to show a great deal of techniques and skills, and I wanted to choose something that I could do for a year without getting sick of. All that in mind, I decided to make a film based off of my two favorite science fiction series, Star Wars and Halo. I knew that animating glowing swords would probably get me some points on the effects side of things, and thus the idea was born: lightsaber versus energy sword. I set to work writing a statement of intent, detailing the main idea for the film, the possible methods and avenues I could take, techniques and effects that could be used, supplementary pieces, and a general outline for why I was doing what I was doing. By the end, my idea had become a plan, to make a video, website, and poster. I had all of these grand ideas for what I wanted all of it to look like, but I needed to quantify them, make them real. So I set about sketching, brainstorming what it could all look like: the film, the poster, and the website. I started with rough drawings, some of which I didn't even color. These were proof of concept, early ideas. After the first versions, I made more detailed pictures that were more satisfying to what I had envisioned. Then I annotated them and put them in a safe place, where I would refer to them throughout the creation of the project. Then came time for research. Lots of it. Materials, resources, processes, and technologies. Materials consisted of file types. Lots of them for video, image, sound, website, and some miscellaneous ones. Then there was all the various resources that I would use, all the locations to film at, all the tools and tutorials I would need, manufactured products to take inspiration from, and the people that would help me get through the project. Processes involved looking at different techniques, styles, and tricks for filming, use of sound, and of course all of the special effects that I would use: green screen, lightsaber, and stop motion. Last, there was the technologies, divided into software and hardware. Software was just all of the different programs that I would use to make the project, and hardware was my various cameras, microphones, computers, and options to save the project, namely hard drives and USBs. Once I was finished with the research, it was actually time to start making my film, and that meant a script. I knew that I wouldn't be marked on my script, but I still wanted to have something that I was proud of, and I spent a few hours writing one. I had all of my cast over the table read it, we made the necessary changes, and then we were ready to film. During the time between research, scripting, and filming, I made some evaluations to my workspace environments. These involved the indoor and outdoor filming locations, and also the places where I'd work on my computer. For the filming locations, I assessed for physical hazards. While I didn't find anything life-threatening, there were a few factors that I accounted for.
Get out of here! Scram!
For the desk setup, I had to ensure that there were no ergonomic hazards, or in other words, that I wasn't in danger of RSI, muscle strain, or carpal tunnel. Filming took a few weeks to get going, but eventually we got together. There were only two locations to film at: my house and the field at Nolan's Reserve. We did the filming at my house first, and in our first session we managed to get through more than half of the movie. Okay, so this is a retroactive assessment. We just finished our first filming session, everyone's left. Yeah, we got through half the movie, which is pretty awesome considering that I'm filming with a bunch of Neanderthals. Yeah, we did well. I mean, each line we got plenty of takes and cuts, angles, so when it comes to editing, I'm definitely not going to have any lack of footage. I'll have plenty to work with. A few weeks later, I had them all over and we picked up the rest of the footage, leaving only the outdoor filming left. The outdoor scenes all involved one-on-one battles with the lightsaber and energy sword, which meant that I had to plan out the choreography. Being a big fan of kung fu films like The Matrix, Kill Bill, and Rush Hour, I refused to settle for mediocrity. I spent several hours working on several movements and sequences for the film. Once I had completed choreography for my fight scenes, I had my crew over to practice all of it, and after some changes, we were all satisfied and ready to film out at Nolan's Reserve. Out at Nolan's, I didn't require as much footage as I had for the living room, so we didn't need to film for hours. But I didn't want to have to film here twice, so every shot had to be perfectly framed and performed. We found a shady spot to film, and set up a resting area for people who were on break between shoots. After 3.5 hours, we had all the footage that I needed, and a lot of extra in case I decided to change the timeline in post. I didn't just want to have live action footage, and to include a few more techniques, I decided to work with something that I was already familiar with: stop motion using Lego. I had some figures, I bought what I didn't have, and I set to work getting clips. I would pose the figure, take a picture, adjust the pose slightly, take another picture, and so on until I had enough photos for a short series of animations. Then I used Photoshop to stitch them together and add the lightsaber effect. However, during the stop motion process, I found issue when I wanted to have an object off the ground to show one of the figures dropping something. The only way I could have these kind of frames was by supporting the object with adhesive, then going into Photoshop and using a couple of tricks to erase the adhesive. It's not perfect, but for a frame that lasts less than 1/10 of a second, it does the job. I wanted to use footage from in-game to give my film more variety. Fortunately, Halo has a designated theater mode for reviewing past games, so all I needed was my console and a capture device, both of which I already had. With all my footage, I actually had to edit my video. This mostly involved piecing together the right clips in the right order, but there were other tasks involved such as including special effects, music, and title sequences. From the start, I knew that making the lightsaber effect wasn't going to be easy, especially since I had zero knowledge of After Effects. But the film would also be pretty lame without it. So I checked out some tutorials, booted up After Effects, and spent the hours keying in my lightsaber. What I ended up with in the end, well, looked quite nice. Making a website was not something that I looked forward to, but I knew that I had to do one to end up in the top marking. I used HTML and CSS, which I was already familiar with, and after a lot of tutorials, had a simple website structure that I could work with. Finally, the poster. I had sketched a few designs already, and I used Photoshop to create a dramatic poster that combined real photography with cartoon scenery. Overall, I'd say my major project is coming along well. At this point, I still have a few problems to overcome, a lot of code to wrestle with, and some animation that needs touching up. Looking at my original timeline, I can't say I've been completely on track throughout the project. That said, I am on the path to turning in a complete major work that I'm satisfied with.